Hello, and thank you so much for joining us on our special program, The Hype, here on CGTN, China Global Television Network. I am Li Zhao, bringing you live here from China's capital, Beijing. And today we're talking about the APEC meeting. APEC, also known as the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation. You know, with 21 member economies, the APEC is one of the most influential platforms for the Asia-Pacific countries and also regions to promote really closer regional economic ties in a more inclusive, sustainable, and also innovative manner. And today, to talk more about the topic, we are very honored to join by an amazing lineup of guests. First, we have Maria, my friend out here. She's also a journalist from Peru's The Citizen. Do you want to say hi to our camera?
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here to use the opportunity of my stay in Beijing to talk about this because we're antipodes.
Right.
Chile, it's exactly the opposite place on earth from China.
Yeah, Maria is from Chile. We actually met at the China-Africa Summit.
Yeah.
And then it was a really interesting story because all the journalists are mainly from either China or Africa. And then I met Maria and I asked her a simple question. Why are you here?
Yeah, so I'm a Chinese expert. I do research on China and geopolitical topics. And I'm participating in exchange with the Diplomatic Association.
Right.
Yes.
So you're going to be here in China until December?
Yes, because then I need to spend Christmas with my family in Austria.
You're going to go back on Christmas time. All right, good to know that. And also, we are also joined by Alejandro Cespedes. I hope I pronounced your last name right. He is the OPED and also international editor for La Republica, that's in Peru. Say hi to our audience.
Hi, Zhao. Hi to the audience of The Hype. Nice to meet you today.
Good morning to you there. It's morning right there, right? Because of time difference.
Yeah, it's almost 8 a.m.
Okay.
Lima.
I hope we didn't wake you too early. Anyways, we're also joined by Alvaro. He's a general management assistant for Chancay Megaport in Peru. Say hi.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity here.
Yeah, one thing I think it's good for our audience to know is that Alvaro actually speaks some Chinese. He got the second place for, a Chinese competition in Peru, so that's impressive. And also later on in our program, we actually did a bit of a video interview with Zhao Lihong. She's the Chinese director of the Confucius Institute of Pontifical Catholic University of Peru. She actually, because of her schedule, she wouldn't make it to our live this time, but she did send us a video and talk about some of the topics that we'll be showing you guys in the later on program. All right, without further ado, let's dive into our topic for today, APEC meeting. All right, some basic information for APEC meeting first. As I said, it consists of 21 member economies. And you know what? Altogether, the 21 economies really represent over 60% of the world's total GDP and about 50% of world trade. And one of the missions of the meeting is really to make trade across borders really easier and also connecting those regions, whether that's through logistics or transportation or other means. Really hope to provide an easier way to do trade between those regions. And the theme for the APEC this year, APEC 2024, is really about empower, include, and also grow, hoping to really harness that kind of digital platforms and opportunities. And in our special program for the first two previous episodes, we discussed empowerment and inclusion. And for this episode, we're talking about the growth, whether that's economic growth or growth to people level exchanges or sustainability level exchanges. Now let's first start from trade growth. Right. Some of the driving engines for this is really, I think, latest technologies and some of the supporting policies. Maria, do you want to share with us? I know you're from Chile. Some of the, supporting policies that you see within the APEC bloc that really help ease the trade between China and also Latin America or Chile specifically.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to point out some keys about this current summit because we are in a context where global governance it's been breaking down to pieces. So many big powers are reaccommodating to a new world order. We're in a transition time. Every day it's becoming more clear that we are transiting We have two major wars which broke out, and they bring a lot of instability. So these economic forums, they bring the opportunity to put opposite powers together.
Right.
And we are in the middle of a recession because of these geopolitical urgencies. So APEC, it's not any other APEC. It's a forum at a very hot point of geopolitics where we will see major superpowers coming to the table. So it's not a coincidence that this is the main topic, because economic growth, as we saw it in the context of the globalization in the last 20 years, it's not doable anymore with these current global institutions and global infrastructure. So there's a major questioning, and countries like ours, we see in this crisis also an opportunity, because usually Latin America will do just trade with Europe and the United States. It was not very beneficial to us because of the whole context of the colonization.
But they are your traditional allies.
They were our traditional allies, and they imposed themselves to be our traditional allies by the means of force. First of all, the colonization period, which was very dramatic, no need to remember, everybody knows, and then by the coup imposed by the US in Chile in 73, so it was not a free choice. And now these new times, post-US unilateral hegemonic, bring a whole new constellation where China rises as a very interesting trading partner for most Latin American countries, and Chile was a pioneer in this whole constellation. So it was the first country which signed a free trade agreement with China. So we kind of open up the Latin American area for China. Although we are a very small country, there was a vision about joining these two continents. I say China continent, meaning the size of China, Latin America and the whole Chinese market. So Chile opened the first trade agreement with China, and then the relationship just skyrocketed. So they went through different dimensions. We have a lot of people-to-people exchange. We have a lot of exchange in the areas of technology, big investments from Chinese side in Chile. So it was just an example of how beneficial it's the cooperation between China and Latin America, and it has worked quite successfully for us.
I think you talk about that America and also Europe are the traditional allies for Latin America and for Chile as well. But turning to China, is that something that you think that at first that Chile will hold some concerns about, because it's so far away and obviously with different culture and different situations as well, and it's not like an area that traditionally people would know more about?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because China is our first commercial partner. There is no match for the Chinese market because we sell mostly products that are interesting to such a market, either minerals, agricultural products, some things from salmon industry, forage industry, so primarily primary goods, natural resources. And there is no competitor for the Chinese market. China needs so many resources, so many agricultural products because of the size of the population. So there was not much questioning. There was a whole tempo about how fast and how naturally the relationships develop on the economic area. But yet, we are traditionally oriented towards the US country, and politically wise, this hasn't been accommodated. So there is very little knowledge about China. There are a lot of misconceptions still, and the media is overly very unfriendly towards China because they follow the lead of the US. And every time that the government or the state tries to get closer to China to deepen our relationships, the US embassy complains and make a statement, and there is kind of pushback by the state. So we are in the middle of this contradiction. It's unquestionable and undoubtedly how beneficial the relationship between China and Chile are on commercial terms. But politically wise, we are in the middle of this dichotomy. We want to do trade with China, it's beneficial to us, but the US is still being a major force on our foreign policy.
Now let's turn to our guests online. Now, Alejandro, you're an international editor, and obviously you follow these news all the time. Tell us some of the supporting policies that you see in terms of trade between, whether that's within the APEC bloc or between China and Peru.
Well, after listening to Maria's explanation about how representative is China for our economies, it is important to understand how big is in the case of Peru, this meeting, because it represents more than 60%, almost 70% of our whole international trade. no, and also China, no, regarding our exports, just in mining, which is one of the most important sources of imports. It represents almost 90% of our whole imports. No, so for us, it's very important to lead this summit this year because what is happening right now in Peru, no, is that construction of the Chancay Megaport that will bring an incredible amount of international trade to our country and to our region too. No, just to understand how big it is. No, some estimations, previous estimations, has said that last year in Peru, what will represent Chancay for our whole international trade is well, that in last year were 5%. That will be in the following next years with the inauguration of the megaport of Chancay. No, so it will be an increase of 95% of international trade in our country and of course in our region. No, so in the case of Peru, that will be absolutely necessary to build more institutions and build more policies that right now is in the priorities and in the agenda, but we think that it will be necessary to put it in a train, no? In a rapid train, because of the context. No, for us, it's very important, and APEC helps us to understand these opportunities to continue increasing our policies regarding environment. No, in the 2012 APEC meeting, no, all the 21 economies accepted to reduce 5% the environment contamination or pollution. So for us, it's very important to continue with this goal, no, regarding all the goals that all these economies also accepted voluntarily. No, so this is part of, for example, of our main policies, no, regarding also the subsidies of to reduce and help reduce into the reduce the companies they are polluting fossil fuels. No, these acceptations, no, were also subscribed in the conference of the parties in 2021, like 3 years ago. No, and
wait, sorry,
these,
Alejandro.
of
Let
course,
me
yes.
stop you there because we want to talk more about the Chancay Mega Project because Alvaro, he's a part of this. Alvaro, can you explain to us what does the Chancay port is mainly for? What kind of project is it? I know it hasn't really finished yet. Maria, have you heard about the project?
Yeah,
it's really big in the Latin America. It hasn't quite finished. It will finish very soon. But let's have Alvaro tell us what kind of project is it?
Well, in total, it's supposed to be three stages. We're in the first one, and it's almost gonna finish. Actually, in about 2 or 3 weeks, which is almost here. The project is a construction project, a port construction project. This is going to represent a really big change in our economy because it will implement more things coming from China through the port. Our economy has grown over the years. And for example, last year, our export numbers grew around 7.2% in comparison to last year. So I think that with the construction of this port, our economy and exportations are going to be unimaginable.
Unimaginable for sure. I don't know if this is official data, but I read something. I think the report says it is estimated to really have 1 million worth of containers to really shipping from really across the world to Latin America. That
1.5 million, yeah.
1.5 million. Oh my gosh. That's a huge number. And not just to Peru, but also to Latin America in general. That's a lot of import and export seeing there. So tell us about, it's a project of this giant big of size. What kind of cooperation are we seeing there?
Well, the main investors here are Chinese people. So they have brought their technology and ways of working that really has contributed to the way that we normally do things here in Peru. Normally, it will take us for around 5 to perhaps 20 years to finish this kind of project, but with Chinese people, it has changed. It's gonna take around 3 and a couple of months more years to construct this. So the contribution that China has been having with us has really changed the game.
So what kind of assistance does, do the Chinese companies actually sending Chinese workers there? How's the assistance going? Tell us.
Yes, they have bring in total, I mean, if you sum up everything, around 1,000 people, Chinese people. They are all experts in different kind of fields. They are all engineers, they have their masters, and they also know about this because, in China, the construction of ports is really common. That's something that basically they do always. They have really big ports, even bigger than the one here that is going to be constructed. So they know how to do things. They know how to do breakwaters. They know how to have more land than expected. So the technology and the knowledge that they have has really helped us a lot in constructing this project.
So sending Chinese workers over and help them with the latest technology and some of the knowledge that they've really experienced here in China and take it to, Latin America and Peru specifically in Chancay's case. Maria, I want to ask you this question. Having foreign capitals in, having more foreign investment, is it a good thing for Latin America or not a good thing?
It is more than good or bad. This is essential. We cannot develop without capital, and we have a structural deficit of capital because the whole dynamic of colonialism and how our later republics were built were under the circle of looting. So big powers taking our resources but never paying back. We have 500 years of colonization, more or less, economically or politically. So there is an enormous deficit of infrastructure because we lack the capital. So we have great products, even we could develop some sort of industrialization, but we cannot ship them because there are not ports, because there are not roads. Chile, until very recently, didn't have a train line. A country which is of the size of Chile, so long, it's just unbelievable. We didn't have the capital for this. So it goes beyond good or bad. There is no hope for our economies if we don't get capital to our continent.
So having a major infrastructure projects, whether that's a train or a port or something like that, just major infrastructure that connects really these regions. What does it mean to the locals and the regions? Alejandro, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, well, for the locals, means right now a big stress. No, I think that this tremendous shock that Chancay brings and to the table, and to APEC economies is a very stressful situation that is changing a lot the way, for example, this area now in the north of Lima that is called Chancay is changing, regarding infrastructure, regarding the culture itself, regarding security, and it is very important to talk about this because depending on how well this is treated, by in this case by our country, and also by our allies, in this case China, would help to be create all the conditions to be this sustainable. No, in the future. No, right now, for example, the in Peru, many companies are very impressed about the potential this will bring to our country. No, so for example, they're talking a lot about technology, about future cars that
Right.
will be constructed here in Chancay also. No, so it is changing very fast. No, all the way we see ourselves. No, we see each other also. No, because socially also is changing how we understand our country. The relations with China, no, is different. As for example, Maria has told, no, this injection of money at the end is very not only democratic but also very organic, you know. So this is, I think, is very soon to understand what this will bring to our country and to our region. No, but of course, for example, only regarding APEC. No, in these last 10 years, no, every economy, no, this APEC trade, international trade, has grown approximately 12%, no, in every economy, no. So what I want to say at the end is that the impact will be as better as we can do it. Just if we continue seeing this as a cooperation, no, and support institutions and support the rules that we are trying to create in the way we are advancing, as for example Alvaro has told us. No,
For sure. I like how you
regarding the
said, I
phases.
think you talk a lot about not just for infrastructure projects, but also on high tech as well. For example, EVs. China's EVs are really going into Latin America as well, not just within the Latin America, but also across the APEC as well. So what kind of like trade between Latin America and China really shifting from natural resources all the way to technologies and also some of the other areas, including digital opportunities like digital platforms, right? What are some of the areas that you see particular that the two sides have really collaborated most upon?
So this is something exceptional when it comes to the trade between China and Latin America, because there is not just the injection of capital, which is unusual when it comes, because you need to see the size. Chile, for instance, Peru, we are very small countries. The large of the size of China makes it, in comparison to us, very powerful. Yet the China is willing to inject capital to our countries to build infrastructure there, which at the end of the day, it's out of their hands, it's out of their control, because politically wise, they have no influence in our governments. Very different from the dynamic of the United States, because wherever they did trade, they put also military base and they enforce certain policies. It's a very different dynamic. It's completely opposite to what we have lived until now. That said, there is technological transfer. This is very obvious in the case of the port in Peru, but also in Chile there is a very interesting project. So last year the president of Chile was here and he came out of this trip with a major project for co-investment for lithium, not just to extract lithium, a very essential mineral for all the technology we have, but also to produce the batteries in Chile. So that type of opportunities we will not get from any other traditional ally, either from Europe or the United States. So there is a transfer of capital, infrastructure, technology, and then when it comes to digitalization, which is essential for the economic role, China offer not just the most valuable technology, but also the most affordable. And as I said before, we do not have capital. So we need a very quick way to digitalize our economies without the capital. And this is something just China is meeting our needs in that sense, with no other competitor for that.
If we were talking about digital opportunities, I think one platform that everybody in Latin America should know is it called, sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong, is it Mercado Libre? That's one major.
Mercado Libre.
Yes.
Mercado Libre, that's the largest, that's like China's Alibaba and Latin America, right? Yeah, it's really
Yes.
big.
Yes.
Tell us what kind of products can you actually buy on there? Alvaro, do you want to answer that? What kind of products can you buy there? Is it agricultural products only or like everything?
No, it's almost like an Alibaba, as you said. Basically, what you want to buy is technology, perhaps some headphones, a keyboard, books, something that is not that big and it's supposed not to be that expensive. But we haven't not get to the point where we can buy like agricultural products or like a really big and expensive piece of technology. It's only just for entertainment purposes, I would say.
But that platform, I was actually really surprised to learn that it has actually companies here in China as well. A lot of goods are actually shaped from China all the way to there. I was really surprised to learn because thinking of the logistics, right, the transportation of goods, it's really hard to, because China and Latin America, that's like tens of thousands of miles away. And for all the logistics to really take in parts, that's a lot of work to do. Alejandro, you want to add more? I saw you nodding there.
No, I know. I think that this is something that I have read recently regarding the time of transportation that Chancay will bring to get faster our economies, no, and our trade. No, there are some ships and big ships that will move the trade in the half of the regular time we are accustomed to. No, so I think that the most important thing that in this case APEC has in their hands is how they can use properly, and take advantage of this great opportunity that is the Chancay's Megaport. Because I think everybody can get benefited by this construction if they can cooperate to help Peru to strengthen their institutions, strengthen their capabilities, not only economically but also institutionally. I always try to get focused on this important thing because I think that because of the very big stress it means to our country. Right now, as I mentioned, this stress can also be a risk. So it is important to mention the risk to avoid it in the future.
So since we just got back to Chancay, I think if we're talking about Chancay, Alvaro, you have to say something. Before our live, you talk about how businesses really are seen more in the area, especially around the port. Tell us what is looking like there. We've never been there. Have you ever been to Chancay?
I haven't been to Latin America in 9 years, and last year, I passed through Lima.
Oh.
I made a stop, and I want to say everybody was talking about this.
Everybody's
That's why I
talking
know about,
Shanghai.
because the simple person in a restaurant, we're talking about the port.
Right.
About the opportunities, what's going to happen, what's going to change, expecting. So I could sense how big it is. It's going to change the whole dynamic of the city.
Sure, and it's not just going to affect Peru, but also the rest of the region as well. Because as Alvaro just said, 1.5 million containers a year. That's a lot of export, right? Alvaro, you want to tell more about how the locals are really feeling about the Chancay port? It's going to be very soon. It's going to convene.
Yes, I've been working in Chancay since 2021, or more than 3 years actually. And Chancay is like 1.5 hours away from Lima. So the impact that is happening right now is basically focusing on Chancay at the moment. But the first time that I got there to Chancay, it was a really quiet and silent place. I mean, there were some businesses, yes, but perhaps not as many as you wish, because in Lima, the capital, we have everything at any time. But in Chancay at that moment, it was almost empty. Now, more than 3 years have passed, and everything has changed. Actually,
Wow.
you see more restaurants, more bars, more people renting their houses or some rooms. You see more growth in that aspect. So the amount of people that you see in the streets now is way more than the ones that you saw on 2021, which is great. Not only local people are being greatly affected by this, I mean, they are having a lot of economic growth, but also people who want to do business there. Most of the people who invest in Chancay at the moment are people from there, but there are also some places where you can see that there is a foreign investment. I mean, people outside Chancay. And for someone who has been there since the very beginning, is a totally different panoramic scenery, because everything is different than before.
I read reports that the Chancay port actually utilize a lot of the renewable energy. Is that true?
Yes, especially for when the port starts working, everything is going to be electric. So there is gonna not be need for fuel. So everything will be better for the environment, because that's the key point, right? China is bringing all this technology not only to benefit our economy and our people, but also to try to stay within the paramedics of being a friend and environmental conscious about the impact that you're having. So having these things not using fuel is really great for environment.
And speaking about mega projects like this one, for sure it will bring lots of job opportunities for the locals as well. If we want to talk about the job opportunities, we actually have a video interview that we pre-did with Miss Zhao Lihong. She's a Chinese director of the Confucius Institute, co-designed by Shanghai International Studies Universities and also the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru. Let's take a listen.
Hello, I'm the Chinese director of Confucius Institute book, Zhao Lihong. In recent years, more and more Chinese companies have entered Peru with a large number of job positions, and more students learn Chinese in our institute. Many students want to work in Chinese companies, but they have no way to get information. Meanwhile, many Chinese companies contacted us and wanted to hire students who speak Chinese well. So we had the idea of holding a Chinese company job fair. It helps both the students and the companies, and also it attracts more students to learn Chinese. Win-win. Last year, we contacted Chinese Company Association Peru. With the support of the association, 12 well-known Chinese companies took part in the fair, such as Huawei, Bank of China, and PetroChina. A lot of students came that day. To be honest, much more than our expectation, and it was a huge success. This year, we held the second job fair. With the building of Chancay Port, students have become more interested in Chinese companies. We also have more cooperation with Chinese companies this year. As a successful project of our institute, the Chinese company job fair will be held regularly every year and expanded. We are very happy and proud of building this platform to take our social responsibility, and it really makes difference and brings our students opportunities which could change their lives. Thanks very much.
Okay, the job fair. Alvaro, did you get your jobs through the job fair?
Not, but I had some friends who assisted there, who went to the job fair, and it's really big because, as the director said, there were many Chinese companies that were looking for people who were able to speak at least a little bit of Chinese, and of course, besides the knowledge, will contribute a lot to the company.
Do you know that he actually graduated from the Confucius Institute, where the well, you know now, and the university is actually Alejandro actually went to that university in Peru. We didn't mean that, but it was wow, everything just matched up. Anyways, you talk about a lot of Chinese companies actually hiring people in the job fair. What kind of companies are hiring people in the fair, and what is it like? Tell us.
Mostly engineering companies. There were also some banks, as the director said, the Bank of China, but most of them were engineering companies besides, for example, Huawei, basically.
So obviously you're with the Confucius Institute. So does everyone who study in the Confucius Institute have some kind of knowledge of Chinese?
Yes, especially nowadays. I have friends who obviously have their major in a specific field, but with the Chancay port and the many Chinese people who have come to Peru recently, they have started studying Chinese, even though they don't know anything. So this has really changed the game when it comes to learning languages. Chinese is already a language that most people want to speak, even though they believe it's hard. They think it's hard, but yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. I have to say it's hard.
It's not a belief, it's true.
Do you guys know how many times I actually tell Alejandro how to pronounce my name? It's really not very easy. How do you pronounce my name, Alejandro?
Zhao.
Yes, that's good. As Alvaro said, I think more and more people talking about how Chinese is getting popularity in the region. I want to ask you this: why did you choose to learn Chinese, Alvaro?
I actually fall in love with the language the first time I heard it. I listened about this, but I really thought that it was way difficult than I knew. I really was really scared, and I was really afraid that I wouldn't be able to learn this language. But with time and with practice, I realized that you just need that. You just need practice. I didn't learn it for a specific purpose. To be honest, I started learning Chinese a few years ago, but I didn't know that it will have this much impact on our society, especially Peru nowadays. So I was lucky, I would say, that I am able to speak at least a little bit of Chinese. But yes, it has helped me a lot. I am today with you having this interview. Perhaps if I hadn't choose Chinese for a language, I wouldn't be here today.
He's being modest. He's actually the translator for the Mega project a lot of times, but they obviously need more translators. But Alejandro, did you see more and more Chinese people actually go to Peru and visit in the area, or more Chinese working and living in the area?
Absolutely. No, I think that Chinese presence in Peru, where in Lima, but also in regions, has increased a lot in the last 2 years. No, and it is interesting because what we see is that most of the Chinese people that are coming are people who are really interested to invest. No, and they are creating small economies. No, and connecting different economies with their capabilities. No, and they are working a lot, translating these capabilities. No, in a new era. No, in a new phase. No, that will actively help. No, in this new time that is coming with Chancay. No, regarding, for example, in Chancay also. No, Just you can see a lot of many companies that are from China. No, the energy of Peru is well managed by China too. No, and also the mining. No, so is getting bigger and bigger. And I think, and well, we think that this is a great opportunity to talk, no, and see how many similarities we have. No, we in La República speaks a lot. No, how their our cultures, Asian cultures, no, can meet each other, no, in this time of the history, no, in the way we are working, no, and creating new ways to see civilization, to see our economy, to see our culture. No, so it's changing a lot. It's changing a lot. We in Lima, you can see more Chinese people that are working with us. No, next shoulder by shoulder.
Wow, I like that, shoulder by shoulder.
I'm very inspired by what he said because I wanted to say this summit doesn't happen in any time. It's a time where the major pillars of modern civilization are being questioned. And not just because of these geopolitical confrontations, because we are in the middle of a major climatic crisis.
Right.
So we need to rethink about how we do things. And there are many countries in APEC, but when it comes to Latin America and China, we truly have these similarities. I was there with my Chinese mother. It's very interesting because I have been to China with her and she has been to Latin America with me, and we both feel comfortable in both places. She loves actually the food in Lima. She loves the food in Chile. We have so many sea products, very similar than Shanghai. And when it comes to our values, we love our family, we love our friends, we want the best for our countries. So I'm half German, I'm also very familiar with European culture. I don't want to say anything bad, it's just not as similar as our culture. So there is a very solid ground for us to cooperate. Latin America hasn't had a war in about 200 years. We are not a war-oriented society. Our indigenous societies were very oriented towards harmony. To be in peace, we say Mother Earth with the rest of the living beings, the same China. So we have a very solid ground for cooperating, and this goes beyond modernity. This comes to the background of our common civilizations.
I like how you said that our civilizations have lots of similarities in terms of values, in terms of cultures. And for sure, I know that since you're in China right now, and we know that, I did a story on the salsa class here, about the Cuba salsa class. We were just talking about that. And then Maria told me that you actually went to that dance class as well.
Yeah, actually, it was my life dream because salsa, for the people who doesn't know, it's more from the Caribbean area. We don't have this in Chile. Like, I saw it from afar. I dream about it. I never have the time and the opportunity to do it. And when I was in Beijing, I found out about this salsa school. And I started to go just surrounded by Chinese people. And we both enjoyed this, Latin music. And the teachers are from Cuba, so it's really like Caribbean style. They are very warm, and it's a very beautiful community of people who enjoy life and do things. But
are you surprised by this kind of globalization? Because I was surprised. I didn't know that I can find a Cuba, like Cuban dance first off, and then it's Cuba people actually teaching you the dance moves. So presence not just happen, as Alejandro said, more Chinese working and living in Latin America, but also Latin Americans coming to China and sharing their cultures as well.
Yeah, because actually this school organizes every Saturday a party. And there's people from Latin America and from China. So these things are happening in all levels. And I don't think that even has to do with the context of globalization, but with the similarities of cultures, because this exchange between Cuba and China comes from the time of the Cold War. So at that time, Cuba had ties with China, the same with Russia. In Russia, there are many great salsa dancers. So it's not even in the context of globalization, but that we do truly have the similarities. We enjoy to do things collectively. It's not about being alone, Because in Europe, you know, I live in Berlin, it's about dancing alone, a very different type of
Independent,
music.
yes.
Independently.
Do everything alone.
Everything alone. That's why I never enjoy it so much. But here it's about doing things in a collective.
In
And
a
the
group,
same-
in a
exactly.
team setting.
Exactly.
Gentlemen, do you guys dance salsa? Maybe.
You can learn in Beijing.
I do. I do, but I think we can learn do it better in Beijing.
I think that's one of the
Come.
stereotypes. I think that's one of the stereotypes we have for Latin Americans, that everyone can dance to some kind of music.
Absolutely false. Absolutely false.
Yeah, no, absolutely
Yeah.
false. I can tell some friends that will not dance as good as you think, as you can imagine.
So you can't dance. We can't see you
No.
dance.
I can dance because I learned here in Beijing, but
Yeah.
before that I couldn't.
Oh my gosh, I was really surprised to learn. Okay, that's one of the stereotypes. Like, I thought every single Latin American can dance to some kind of...
And we are the whole day drinking rum, right?
Right. Well, we're going to talk about this later. But really, I think this kind of, you know, seeing whether it's like Maria saying, the similar of cultures, you know, people finding cultures alike and then coming to this place, whether that's in terms of music, that's in terms of, you know, education, like Confucius Institute, and also in terms of food as well. I heard they say that there are similarities between Chinese food and, you know, Latin American food as well. Is it true, Alvaro?
More than similarities, I think that there is a fusion. For example, here in Peru, from many years ago, we have a Chinese influence in our cuisine. And so we have something that is called chifa, which comes from the Chinese word 吃饭.
Oh.
It was adapted here. The flavor is a little bit different, more orientated towards our flavors, Peruvian flavors. But yes, of course, we also have seafood, which in China they also have. But as I said, more than similarities, we have adopted some flavors from your cuisine to ours, and it has been in our culture for a long time now.
So Alvaro have been in China for about a month, and he has visited a lot of cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, major cities, and also, you know, smaller regions like Shandong's county level cities, right? Tell us which city or which county actually impressed you the most.
Ooh, China in general is a really nice place to be. Coming from Latin America, China, firstly, is a really safe country. When I went to Beijing, unfortunately, I was only there for 2 days because it was just a stop place. But the food there, it was really nice. I tried the Beijing kaoja, the Beijing
The roasting duck, yes.
Yeah, the roasting duck was really delicious. Another city that really impressed me the most was Shanghai. It's a really well-developed city, and I mean, it's really totally different than something that we have here. But a small city, I would say Shandong. We have a city here in Peru that is called Cusco, where Machu Picchu, and the similarities between Shandong and Cusco are really something that you don't get to see every day. So I really enjoy there. And besides, the food in all China is really nice and affordable.
Affordable. What about you, Maria? You've been to a lot of places as well. Especially, you're someone who actually traveled the world, and this time in China, you have plenty of time visiting all cities. Which city actually impressed you the most?
I think every time I go to a new city, something impresses me. Because the development is just so huge and so fast. And China has some similarities with us, but it's a completely different civilization. So everything is new. But regardless of what I thought before coming to China for first time, Shanghai made me feel very comfortable because it's big enough for you to have food from all places of China, Yunnan, Shandong, you name it. But it's walkable and it's very quiet. And I lived for a while in Santiago, then I lived in Heidelberg with my family. Now I live in Vienna, so they're all rather small and quiet cities. So the amount of cars that there are in Beijing, it's just too much for me. You feel loudness all the time. But Shanghai, regardless of the size, has this quietness. So I enjoyed very much. I like very much to have lived there.
I think Shanghai, a lot of people frame it like this way. If you want busy areas, they do have like bars or like, some coffee shops that everyone wants to go there and visit. But also if you want to take some downtime, really enjoy your alone time, you can also do that because they have some quiet, old street, ancient street. I don't know if you go to one of those, they're known towns. It's like one of those ancient, very traditional way of how they built the street, and also the buildings are like very ancient.
And very quiet. I live there in the Xinhualo, in the former French concession. So it's full of cafes, tea houses, very quiet. I could walk everywhere. So I feel almost in Vienna, but without needing to quit Chinese culture, Chinese food. So I like it. It was a very win-win situation.
And also, I think you talk about with all the ancient architectures, but also that you can find coffee shops everywhere. So it's well mixed.
Which is very important to me.
Yes, I know
Coming
you like
from
coffee.
Vienna and Latin America. I think this is the only thing which is difficult for people from Latin America and China. I have many friends from Latin America here. A place without coffee, some time of the day without coffee, it's really troublesome. We need coffee for survival.
So Shanghai is perfect. It's a well mix of modern and also traditions, right? Alejandro, I know you haven't really got a chance to visit China, but if you do, which is something that you want to see the most?
I have heard a lot about Shanghai. I think that the development in this city, in that city, is something that is in every conversation, at least in Peru, and in every economic or political conversation, everybody talks about Shanghai, but also I think that there are many places, I think Beijing, and many places that can be some similar to our rural places too, because in Peru we have many rural places, that maybe are not that developed, such as China, So for me, as a political scientist that I am too, not only a journalist, it's very interesting how, for example, you guys has impulsed the construction of these capabilities in these small areas, to help them to develop themselves,
So you're very much interested in how China really helped out those, rural places, people to lift them out of poverty and get a better life.
Exactly.
Well, one day when you come here, we have a lot of examples for you to see. China is a vast land. We have lots of landscape. It's not just about major cities like Beijing, Shanghai, or Guangzhou. There are also a lot of places with farmers, with local workers, or other, relatively lower class people living in that. I think it will be interesting for you to see. All right, let's speaking back to the APEC meeting, because we've been talking about APEC a lot. Tell us some of your outlooks for the future of this bloc, especially given the context that the 2024 APEC meeting is just going to be held very soon. What are some of your prospects for the meeting? Let's start from Maria.
Yes, so first of all, I think it's very clearly that we already finished the transition from the Atlantic to the Pacific area. The Pacific is the area where we have the largest amount of transport of goods, the largest amount of population, and where we have the most trading. So we are lucky to be in that area because in the last 100 years, the Atlantic, everything was about the Atlantic. So we are lucky to be in that area, to be part of this forum. And as I said before, it happened in a moment where the world is transiting or questioning global governance, global institutions. So this is a very important meeting for these bilateral talks as well. So a lot can happen. Nobody really knows there are a lot of speculations lately when it comes to Ukraine and the war in Israel, but nobody truly knows how this is going to end and how much the markets are going to be still affected by this. So it's a great opportunity in terms of bilateral meetings. And for us, I would say for South America or Latin America, it's a great opportunity for diversifying our markets, for going further in the path of digitalization, getting largest amount of capital into our country. So for us, it's an absolutely win situation.
Lots of opportunities forward. Okay, now let's go to Alejandro. What are some of your outlooks or prospects for the APEC meeting?
Well, I share the perspective of Maria. Know that this APEC meeting will be a very important one regarding how institutionalized the roles will be, between the agreements will be in the economies. No, I think that regarding all the crises we are seeing the world, because of the energy transition and many other aspects, will bring and will be absolutely necessary to show the world and show the companies and show the economies how important it is to create good rules to follow, and having the perspective, on how these new rules can help to create more richness, more money for our economies. I think that in terms of high tech, this APEC meeting will be very important, regarding also how we can implement AI, and this all digital evolution in our process, economic processes. So I am very have a lot of expectations, regarding how the economies can agree in a new rule of financing high quality, reliable, sustainable, and also I remember, because I is part of the main objective and goals of this APEC meeting, that is the resilience, creating also resilient infrastructure, including, for example, regional or cross-border infrastructure projects,
So we're
Yes,
really looking
I
forward
think
to more regional economic integration, as you said.
I
for
think
sure.
I think the expectations are the highest in all APEC history this year.
What about you, Aurora? I know that it's gonna your project, the Chancay port, is gonna convene very soon. It's gonna be really busy for you, especially during the time when APEC is held. So tell us, what are some of your expectations, especially as someone who's in the middle of the major project?
Ooh, the Chancay project is gonna impact a lot. It's gonna have a big impact in our economy, especially considering that the time of shipment is gonna be reduced from 45 days to around 20 days. So as Maria said, nothing perhaps at the moment is written in paper. I mean, we don't know how much this is gonna impact on other countries, because in the past, Peru now has a port which is called the Callao port, but it is now overloaded with lots of shipments from all over the world. But with this APEC meeting, I am looking forward to hear new guidelines and some economic politics and standouts about how China and Peru are gonna do business, because specifically now we don't have a really set or established policy when it comes to import or export. So hopefully it will help our country be better, to grow our economy and also create more job opportunities, which is happening right now. A lot of people from Chancay and from outside Chancay are coming to work in the Chancay port, and the economy for their families and themselves is better than before. And hopefully it will be even better when the Chancay port starts working.
Yeah, I think once it starts operating, it's going to need more people. So hopefully, either we're going to have more Chinese guys work over there, or they're going to hire more locals working in the major project. All right, I think that's a great talk of the APEC meeting. We focus on the economic aspect of the meeting. And really, thank you so much to our guests who gave wonderful insights, talk a lot about the latest technologies, infrastructure projects, and also people-to-people level exchanges. Specifically, we know that Maria's favorite city is Shanghai, and so is Alvaro. And that's also one of the cities that Alejandro would like to visit. So given that, a lot of expectations to the APEC meeting and for our guests as well. All right, thank you so much for tuning in to our special program. Again, we are called The Hype. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.